Hello there. So this week in our weekly self-care series, we're looking at a condition called Trigeminal Neuralgia. So we're just going to have a little look at what it is, what the symptoms are, and also some self-care, of course, for if you think you have this condition or if you've been diagnosed with this condition, some self-care that's going to help with those symptoms. So first of all, trigeminal neuralgia, what is it? So the trigeminal nerve actually comes from the brain stem, and it comes out to sort of just around this sort of area here around the ear, which is sort of the root of the nerve, and then it branches into 3 different areas, and that's hence the word because it has 3 different kind of branches to it. So one of the branches comes down this way to sort of the lower jaw area. One of the branches of the nerve comes out across the cheek here, sort of into the sinus area. And then another one comes more up into the forehead and sort of the eyebrow really. And obviously you have 2 of these nerves, one of them each side. And the words, so that sort of explains the trigeminal word when it comes to this condition. And the word neuralgia means pain along the nerve pathway. So if you're experiencing pain that sort of seems as if it goes along that pathway, you don't have to be getting pain along all 3 branches of the trigeminal nerve to actually be diagnosed with this condition. It could just be 1 or 2 of them. And the nerve sort of pain that you'll be getting will be quite specifically nerve pain. So it would be things like a burning sensation, or it might feel quite electric or sharp or hot, that kind of feeling, rather than the dull ache, which tends to be a bit more of a muscular type of pain. So really, that's the kind of way to give yourself an idea as to whether you may be suffering with trigeminal neuralgia. Now, we just move on to some self-care, and this is actually good for anyone with headaches. So if you feel like you're getting these symptoms or you're suffering from headaches generally, then these techniques would be great for you either way. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is applying heat. So at the base of our skull here, we have some tiny muscles that actually support the head. Now, one of those muscles, well, we actually have 2, one on each side, is a place where that nerve actually passes through. So what that means is if that muscle is quite tight or restricted, then that can have quite a huge impact on the sort of health of the nerve and can contribute to pain. So what we're going to be looking at when we're applying heat is actually just at the base of that skull, coming round in a sort of curve type structure around the base of the skull there, and using either a hot water bottle or like one of those wheat wraps, but rather than let it sort of drape around your shoulders, if you kind of support it to just be a bit higher around your neck, and if you apply that for sort of at least 10 minutes twice a day, then that would be great. And the second thing we're going to be thinking about doing is opening up that area with a long hold stretch. So this one you can do with me, so I'm going to demonstrate it here. If you've got the time to do it right now, that would be great. So what you want to be doing is just making sure you're in a position where your spine can be nice and straight, so seated is good. And then we're going to take the hands behind the head. So we're going to interlace the hands like this, and then they're going to come to like just above the base of the skull there. And when you're ready, you're going to take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, you're just going to tuck the chin. And you should feel a bit of a stretch at the back of the neck there. And then what you're going to do is then bring the elbows forward, just to give a bit more weight to the head. And then once you get yourself into that position, you're going to hold it for at least 30 seconds. You can be there up to a couple of minutes if that feels good for you. And if there's any pain, then just bring your head back slightly so that it's not so much of a full-on stretch. And that goes to if there's any pain at the front of the neck as well when you're doing this exercise. But just work within your own limits. So it may feel a bit uncomfortable because we're trying to sort of stretch that tissue there, but there shouldn't be any pain. And once again, the idea behind this is that those tiny muscles in the base of the skull, we're really targeting those with this stretch. Just make sure also that your shoulders aren't coming forward when you're doing it, so the shoulders stay nice and dropped and back, and the movement is just the tilt of the head, not a kind of like we're not starting to go into a forward fold. So we've got that application of heat followed by the stretch, which is really great. The other thing you can do to help with trigeminal neuralgia is some massage of the muscles around this area, because as we mentioned, this is one of the branches of that nerve, and it's somewhere where the nerve can get irritated. So all we're going to do is just come just above the teeth onto the cheeks there, and we're just going to sink in with our fingers and just do some gentle circles. And it might feel quite tender, which is okay. If it's sort of excruciatingly painful, then just be sure to apply less pressure. And you want to spend about sort of 30 seconds to a minute there, really. It's quite it's an area that doesn't really get touched very often, and so it does respond quite well just to some simple movement like this. You don't need to spend too long there. And then lastly, we're going to move on to an acupressure point, which actually sort of corresponds to one of the areas where the nerve kind of emerges. And it's actually found in your eyebrows. So if you just locate the sort of middle section of your eyebrows, so the section that's closest to your nose, with your thumbs, just have a feel around there. And around here, you can see where my thumbs are. There's actually a really small dip in the bone, and that's where you'll find the acupressure point. And all we're going to be doing here is just compressing upwards with some upwards pressure. And you really don't need a lot of it at all. It's just, it's just enough for there to be a bit of pressure there without too much. We're just going to be there for sort of around 30 seconds altogether. You can also do this by putting your elbows onto a desk, just kind of like leaning onto this rather than bringing your head forward. Okay, so that's my top self-care tips for trigeminal neuralgia. So we had the heat, that stretch, and the massage around this area, and then finishing off with pressure point just here in the eyebrows. So give that a go and just do let me know how you get on.